Materialism, or physicalism, about the mind is the view that all mental phenomena are physical phenomena, or are necessitated by physical phenomena. In this video, I'm going to talk about this latter version of physicalism, according to which all mental phenomena are necessitated by physical phenomena. Or alternatively put, effectively that the brain is necessary for consciousness. This is a dominant narrative today, and proponents of this view are often quite confident, and sometimes even arrogant, in their endorsement of this position, when they argue for this position. But is this arrogance and frame warranted? Proponents of this view present various evidence and arguments for their position, as if they would settle the question, as if they'd constitute knockdown arguments for their position. But I think these arguments are rather weak. I think they're trivial, and I think they don't achieve anything significant at all. I'll go through some of this evidence materialists about the mind appeal to. They appeal to evidence that damage to the brain leads to the loss of certain mental functions. They appeal to evidence that mental functions have evolved. They appeal to evidence that certain mental functions have evolved, along with the formation of certain biological facts that have developed, and that the more complex these biological facts become, the more sophisticated these mental faculties become. To evidence that physical interference to the brain affects consciousness, and to evidence that there are very strong correlations between brain states and mental states. And finally on this list, to evidence that someone's consciousness is lost by shutting down his or her brain, or by shutting down certain parts of his or her brain. Now, I'm going to grant that all of this are things that truly have been empirically observed. Some people may want to dispute that, but I'm not. I'm going to grant all this empirical stuff, because I don't take the main issue here to be about the actual empirical stuff itself. Rather, I take it to be about something more fundamental than that. It's more like a logical matter, as I see it. The issue here, I think, mainly is that it's not clear how, supposedly, this evidence supports the proposition that brains are necessary for consciousness, but doesn't support, or doesn't equally support, the proposition that brains are not necessary for consciousness. Right? There could just be an underdetermination problem, meaning it hasn't been ruled out that we can't, on the basis of the evidence alone, determine which belief to hold in response to it. The belief that brains are necessary for consciousness, or the belief that brains are not necessary for consciousness. By merely appealing to this evidence, proponents of this materialist view have not explained in virtue of what we can supposedly conclude definitively that brains are necessary for consciousness. Hence, they haven't demonstrated their claim that brains are necessary for consciousness. That has not been shown. And because it has not been shown that brains are necessary for consciousness, by merely appealing to this evidence, it shouldn't be used as this knockdown argument for their position. Merely appealing to this evidence without further argument or further explanation doesn't settle the question. It achieves nothing significant. I offer a challenge to those who appeal to this evidence. My challenge to you is to answer the following question. How, supposedly, does the evidence you appeal to support the proposition that brains are necessary for consciousness, but not support, or not equally support, the proposition that brains are not necessary for consciousness? When I ask this question to people who endorse this view, most dodge endlessly. So if you can't answer this question, and ask yourself, what does that say about the evidence or arguments you appeal to? I think it means you shouldn't appeal to it, as if it settles the question, because at least by itself, it doesn't. Yet, this view is endorsed as if it was fucking fact, when actually, that hasn't been shown. The claim hasn't been demonstrated. But my challenge to you is to answer that question. And if you think you can answer it, then please write it in the comments. I'd be very interested in hearing your thoughts.